went ahead and finished driving from Texas, but then he could not return because of the pain he was in.
What's that got to do
back
with
to
anything?
Texas.
Ms. Williams, what's that got to do with anything? If he came to Kansas and he was supposed to have this child in the car with him because a car from Texas made it up here, and why in the world he would have a second car bring this child just boggles the court's mind. I do not understand that at all. What it sounds like, Ms. Williams, is that the court's orders are being intentionally obstructed at this point. There's some sort of games being played here, which this court is not in favor of. Versus Christopher Jacob Finch, respondent, Joshua Humig and Andrea Humig, petitioners, versus Christopher Jacob Finch, respondent, case number 2024 DM 251. Counsel, would you announce appearances, please, beginning with petitioners?
Thank you, Your Honor. Susie Locke appearing on behalf of Josh and Andrea Humig, who appear in my office and via Zoom.
Ms. Williams, you're muted, so.
My apologies, Judge. Joy K. Williams on behalf of Christopher Finch, who appears via Zoom from his residence in Texas, and I appear via Zoom from my office in Wichita.
All right, who is seated beside Mr. Finch?
That would be his wife.
And her name?
Ashley.
All right, thank you. This matter comes before the court at this time for a scheduled hearing on a contempt citation that was previously filed and served through special process server on Mr. Finch in Texas. However, Mr. Finch, non-responsive to the requirement that he be in court in person for today's hearing, is not in Kansas. Ms. Williams, do you have an explanation?
Yes, Your Honor. My client was not able to drive up today. He had suffered a car wreck on July 4th. I sent the court some pictures of the wreck. He was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. You saw the damage to the vehicle. Since then, he has increasingly been in pain. I sent one page of his medical report that he had to seek medical treatment on the 6th. He is still informs me he's in a lot of pain and was not able to make the 9-hour drive. In fact, after the wreck, he drove a little ways, but then had someone else come and pick him up because of the pain he was in. So that is why he is not here today, Judge, and he was requesting a continuance.
Ms. Locke, what is your response to this request?
Your Honor, we're objecting to the continuance. Mr. Finch has another child named Riker, who he had for visitation in June, for the month of June. His accident occurred on his way to Kansas to bring that child to Kansas. He did bring the child to Kansas on July 4th. He went home to Texas.
Wait a minute. I thought he had a wreck on the 4th on the way up here.
He did,
Judge. And
but he went ahead and completed the trip to Kansas?
Correct. And then on July 5th, he returned to Texas. Now, July 5th was the day that he was supposed to bring Dawson, the child subject in this matter, to meet my clients at Shields in Wichita. He brought one son with him to Kansas and didn't bring the other child, who was supposed to be exchanged on the 5th. He was in Kansas on the 5th. Then he drove back to Texas and now is claiming that he couldn't appear, and my client's visitation with their grandson still hasn't started.
Your Honor, if I may clarify some of that. That was on the 4th. His exchange with the child in this situation was not supposed to happen to the 5th. And the other half of the family was supposed to come up with Dawson. What happened was he had the wreck. He went ahead and finished driving from Texas, but then he could not return because of the pain he was in. So he had to wait and have someone come pick him up
What's
and
that
drive
got to
him
do
back
with
to
anything?
Texas.
Ms. Williams, what's that got to do with anything? If he came to Kansas and he was supposed to have this child in the car with him, he drove all the way to Kansas without the child involved in this case?
The exchange was supposed to happen the next day, and as I said, the other half of the family was coming up with him, with that child.
I'm not understanding here. If he was coming up on the 4th from Texas to Kansas, then the child involved in this case should have been with him, shouldn't he?
That was not the plan. The plan was for his wife to bring Dawson, the child in this case, up on the 5th. Because he had to get the other child up by the 4th.
Why wouldn't he just bring this child up on the 4th?
I don't know why they made that decision, but it was going to be that they were driving separately, which was actually fortunate that the child wasn't in the car, but then he wasn't able to complete the journey because of the wreck.
Well, he did complete the journey because he drove the rest of the way to Kansas.
But then he couldn't travel anymore driving himself because
Yeah, but who
of,
cares about that? At that point, the child should have been delivered to the Humigs on the 5th. And then if whether he gets back or not wouldn't really been relevant to today's court case. How come, if that was the plan, how come Ashley didn't follow through on her part to get this child up to the Humigs on the 5th at 7:00 a.m.?
I would assume because of the chaos of the wreck, you saw the aftermath of the wreck, and he sought medical treatment after that. So it ended up
On the
not
6th.
happening.
So for 2 days, he didn't seek any medical treatment, but on the 6th, well after he should have been delivering this child, then he sought medical treatment.
The medical record is from the 6th. That is correct, Judge.
Well, okay, so is there going to be any explanation offered why this child wasn't delivered on July 5th at 7 like he was supposed to be? Because a car from Texas made it up here. And why in the world he would have a second car bring this child just boggles the court's mind. I do not understand that at all. What it sounds like, Ms. Williams, is that the court's orders are being intentionally obstructed at this point. There's some sort of games being played here, which this court is not in favor of. This child should have been turned over to the Humigs on the 5th at 7:00 like he was scheduled to be. And why the dad would be coming up to Kansas on the 4th and not bringing this child with him, I just cannot fathom.
Your Honor,
I hope this wasn't done with any advice of counsel, Ms. Williams.
no, Your Honor, no. I would hope the court would know me from all the years I've practiced in front of.
Non-appearance should be excused because he claims he couldn't make the trip to Kansas.
Your Honor, that is the request. I know that my client has told me that he is in pain and could not make the drive.
How convenient. All right, Ms. Locke, any further presentation by you?
Your Honor, obviously our position today is that this court still has continuing and exclusive jurisdiction over this matter unless and until it is taken up in another court. Our request today is that visitation start immediately. My clients, this is day 8 of missed visitation over the summer. Dawson was not exchanged for their June visit despite them driving to San Antonio. And now he was supposed to be exchanged on the 5th and they do not have him. Ms. Williams disclosed to me earlier today that there has allegedly been an adoption in Texas. My clients were not given any notice of that. We have no case number. We have no information about any supposed adoption of Dawson. Texas does have the UCCJEA, so this case should have been disclosed to any case involving the minor child in Texas, which my client should have received notice of and did not. So we're asking the court demand that the father provide the adoption file if that did occur, or at least the case number. And then reset the contempt hearing so that the issues in our motion can be properly addressed by the court.
What is your authority for the proposition that the grandparents were entitled to notice of the adoption proceeding in Texas?
Judge, I do not practice in Texas, but my understanding is that if there is a pending case, a pending court order giving someone else visitation rights in another state, that they have the ability to intercede in an adoption in Texas, and are to be provided notice of the adoption and the opportunity to be heard, especially if it involves a step-parent adoption where there is a deceased child and the grandparents have visitation rights.
I will expect you to provide the court with specific legal authority for your proposition. Ms. Locke,
Understood,
I'll
Judge.
take your request under advisement until that authority is presented to the court. And I think
all
that we're
candor,
probably
Judge-
looking at Texas law that would apply to a Texas adoption proceeding.
In all
Yes.
candor, Judge, I do not have a copy of the adoption. Like I said, I've not been in contact with Texas attorneys on these matters.
Wait,
Well,
So I
correct.
don't
We
have
don't
a
even know
Texas
that an
adoption.
adoption exists, Your Honor.
And I'm not sure what notice provisions would be afforded the Humigs under Texas law, since they're not parents whose rights would be terminated through an adoption, but I don't know Texas law either, so.
Well, the court's first temptation is to issue a bench warrant for the arrest of Christopher Finch due to his failure to appear at the Kansas contempt proceeding, I am far from convinced that he was physically unable to appear. I think he just didn't want to. And I do believe that he's intentionally obstructing the court at this point and has no intention of complying with Kansas court orders. He should have been here. And there is certainly insufficient medical documentation before this court for this court to grant a bona fide medical excuse for his non-appearance. However, this court did convert this hearing to Zoom. Mr. Finch has appeared on this hearing. What the court believes the proper remedy at this point is to grant a short-term continuance and to reset this in very quick fashion for an in-person contempt proceeding in the District Court of Butler County, Kansas. Counsel, I'm looking at Tuesday, July 14, next week, 11:30 a.m. Ms. Locke?
I'm available, Your Honor.
July 14th at what time, Judge?
11:30.
Your Honor, I have a couple Zoom hearings that morning, followed by having to be in court at 1:30, so I don't know that I would be available.
I'm not going to let your unavailability impede the court's ability to proceed on this case, Ms. Williams. Move whatever else you have or get a substitute attorney to represent Mr. Finch. Now, Ms. Locke, I would accommodate, but you're requesting this continuance. I want this matter heard without delay, and I want him here in Kansas to face the music for the allegations that Ms. Locke is making regarding noncompliance with court orders. So, Tuesday, July 14 at 11:30. Mr. Finch, you are ordered by this court to be personally present, Courtroom B, Butler County Judicial Center, El Dorado, Kansas, at that time. And your failure to appear will result in a bench warrant for your arrest. July 14, 11:30 a.m. Now, with all of that said, Ms. Williams, what appears to be, at least prima facie, of contemptuous behavior on behalf of your client could be remedied to some extent if the exchange of this child can take place here in short order.
Okay, yes.
Oh.
I will talk to Mr. Finch and see if we can accommodate that and arrange something with Miss Locke. I'm sorry.
You're talking about a little boy having time with his grandparents. I just failed to see that there should be insurmountable hurdles into making that happen. The court would certainly take into account Tuesday, July 14th at 11:30 when this matter is next addressed. All right. Again, Ms. Locke, your request regarding the adoption file, I'm going to wait on authority. I'm going to presume if you don't provide that authority that you don't have any, and the court's not going to take any further action on your request.
Understood, Your
And I
Honor.
do think that the matter is governed by Texas law rather than Kansas.
Yes, Judge.
So unless you can find some other applicable authority that would override that determination. All right. Ms. Locke, anything else at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Williams, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Judge, I want to confirm that I do not have to re-serve Mr. Finch.
You do not.
Okay.
This is a continuance of the hearing that was supposed to be held right now. So no, you do not. Mr. Finch, you were advised accordingly. All right. There's nothing further at this time. The Humig versus Finch matter will currently be in recess. This meeting may be ended for all at this time.